Okay, welcome back. So for this next stitch, I want you to find this piece of instruction. It's the one that says boxed heart on it up here in the corner. And we're going to be doing a waffle stitch. And that's this stitch right here. So I want you to find this piece of the instruction, and I want you to reference this stitch right here. And you see all these numbers around here. That's what we're going to follow to create this stitch. If you look right here, right in the center of the stitch at the very top, I want you to draw a little circle or highlight something around that. I want you to draw with a pencil around that. That is the last stitch of the waffle stitch. And when you get there, you're going to be coming from this direction, going down up there, and you're going to go under a thread that's already there. So circle that little area and just make a line up here and just write the word under. When we get there, you'll know what to do with that. I promise you. Okay. So if you look at your chart, you've got numbers all the way around it. The first stitch is here. Number 2 is down here. So you're coming up at 1. Remember, you come up on the odds and go down on the even. Up at 1, down at 2. And then 3 is over here. Up at 3, down at 4. Now this grid covers 8 threads, right? Let's count them. Let's look between 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this box is 8 threads square. Let's count going up. Let's start at 3 and go to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This box is 8 threads square. Now, if you look at the picture of what your finished piece is going to look like, you see lots of those little boxes in there. They are all 8 threads square. The center box is 16 threads. See, it covers 2 of those boxes, and it covers 2 going up. So it's twice as big. And when we get to that point, you'll be making either a box or a heart that covers 16 threads. Okay? So the first stitch that we're going to do after you finish your basket weave, and you've enjoyed that, we're going to do a waffle stitch. Okay? So remember that you're always coming up on the odd and going down on the even. And when we start this, you're just going to walk around this instructional square, right? And you know that there's 16 threads. So we're going to start up here in the corner, and then to get to number 2, the first stitch, you're going to have to count. And after that, you don't have to count too much anymore. We're going to count down from where you come up at number 1. We're going to count down 8 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that puts us here, and then we're going to count over 8 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where we're going to come up. So again, we're going to come up here at 1. We're going to count down underneath 1, 8 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then from there, we're going to count over 8 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to come up at 2. Okay? I'm sorry. Come up at 1, go down at 2. Sorry about that. You knew what I meant. Okay? So let's do that. All right. So first we need to thread our needle. And you had 2 strands left on that other piece of thread you pulled that you cut to do the basket weave with. And we made that kind of long. It was as long as your arm and maybe a little bit longer. So you want to blossom that out again. You just pop it on the top till they separate, and you're going to grab one of the ply. You're going to hold the bundle still, and you're going to pull that one out while you hold that bundle still. And you see how it just bunched up and then it let go. So this extra thread you're going to put aside and put it back in your little floss bag. This thread you want to thread your needle with. You're still using that number 22 needle, and if you lost the one you had another one, so you want to grab it. You can try this threading trick. If you've not seen me do it, I put it over the plump part of my non-dominant index finger, and I hold it. You see how I've got it? I put it between these 2 fingers. I flip it over, and I've got it in there, and I've got a little tail down there, and I don't hold it super tight. See how it's not too tight. I just pull it down tight enough. I lay the eye of the needle right over top of it. I rub down with the eye and push up with my finger while I'm doing it. And it usually will pop right through. If it doesn't, use your little needle threader. Okay. Okay. Same thing with this one. If you know how to do a pin stitch, you want to do that, that's fine. We're going to do an away knot. I'm just tying 2 knots in the end of that. Actually, it's going to be a waist away. Now, you want to give yourself enough room because remember, you're covering 8 threads, right? I'm going to kind of start down in here. Actually, I'll do it over here above the basket weave. So I'll put my away thread over here. Okay, that knot goes on the top of your canvas. And I'm going to come up here. Now, 1 is up in the upper right-hand corner. If you look at your diagram, and then you count down 8 threads and over 8 threads, and 2 is over here. So we're going to come up over here. Okay. Now, this is where we count. So I'm going to skip 8 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Sometimes I put my needle through that hole and I move it around to make it a little bit bigger so I can spot it if I'm having to look for it. Now I want to count 8 threads over to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So I came up at 1, I'm going down at 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and go in that hole and then I'm going to recount because if it's not right, it's easy to get it back out of one hole. All right. Remember, I'm counting threads. So I came up here at 1. Let's count them again. There's 1 thread, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the hole I made a little bit bigger. I have skipped 8 threads. Now I'm going to skip 8 threads going that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I went down in that hole. So that is correct, right? Now, if you look at your pattern, number 4 and number 3, let's do 3 first. So number 3 is where we made that hole a little bit bigger, but let's count it to come over to it. And let's count from underneath. Okay, so from where I went down at 2, I'm going to skip 8 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that hole was the hole that I made a little bit bigger, and it is directly underneath 1. And I just dropped the needle through, so I get to do that again. So to find 3, you can count over 8 threads from 2 or down 8 threads from 1. Let's do it down this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's that same hole that I made a little bit bigger. Okay? So I've pulled it through. Now I'm going to check. Is it on the same row that 2 is on? It is. Is it in the same column that 1 is on? It is. Okay? So it's exactly 8 threads over. Now, to find 4, I can do the same thing. I can count up 8 threads from here or over 8 threads from here. So let's do it. 1, and I'm counting the threads that I skipped. Okay? I'm coming up in a hole, but I'm coming up in the hole after I skip the thread. All right, so I'm counting threads. So I'm skipping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right? And that looks like it's right in the same column as number 2. It looks to me like it's on the same row as number 1. I'm going to pull it through and then I'm going to check it. Okay? So it is in the same column as number 2 and it's on the same row as number 1. Now let's count over to 1 because we know we counted up from 2 and we had 8. So let's count the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 threads between those 2 stitches. Okay? So that's a box that covers 8 threads. That's important. All right, so you came up at 1, you went down at 2, you came up at 3, you went down at 4. Okay? Everybody good? All right, now look at your diagram. Now you need to find 5. Okay? 5 is on the top and it's right next to 1. So remember, we always come up on an odd and go down on an even. So we're coming up, we're skipping 1 thread, we're coming up in the hole right beside 1. That's 5. Now where's 6? 6 is right above 2. You have to be looking at your diagram to do this. So you're going to go down in the hole right beside 2. That's 6. Okay? All right. Now we need to find 7. And you have to keep up with where you are on this. So this is not a stitch where you want to stop and go to the bathroom. And if you have to, you need to kind of try to mark your space. 7 is right underneath 4. So 7 is right here. So I'm going to come up at 7 because remember, we come up on the odds and go down on the even. Now where's 8? 8 is down here beside 3. All right? So look at your diagram. You'll see 8. You want to go down right there. See how that's starting to weave through there? That's pretty, isn't it? Okay, where's 9? 9 is beside 2. So last time we went above 2, now we're coming up beside 2. You're just following your diagram here. Where's 10? 10 is right underneath 1. Okay? What about 11? 11 is right above 3. So 11 is right here. So you're coming up on 11, and you're going to go down on 12. Where's 12? I know it sounds like we're playing Where's Waldo. 12 is right beside number 4. So you're coming down right here. So you're just following your diagram through, and it's causing this thing to weave. And that's perfect. It's called a waffle stitch. Okay? So we just went down at 12. Where's 13? 13 is right beside 5, so it's up on this top row. It's the third one in. And then 14. And 14 is right above 6. So it's right there. Make sure you don't go into a dirty hole on this. You should be going into clean holes. Remember, a hole that has a thread in it, for purposes of this nomenclature, is a dirty hole. Purpose in a hole that doesn't have a thread in it is a clean hole. So we just went down at 14. Where is 15? 15 is right underneath up here, number 7. So you're just looking at your diagram, you're coming up in that hole, and you're following through. Where's 16? 16 is the third stitch in right here. So we're going down right there. 16 was right beside 8. Okay? Where's 17? 17 is over here beside 9. Okay? Coming up right there. Where's 18? 18 is right underneath 10. Right here. Third hole down. 19 is the third hole up on this side. It's right here. And you can start to see your variation playing through. Now we're looking for 20. 20 is the third hole over right here. Now if you need to count up here. 1, 2, 3. And then come down. That's 20. Okay. 21 is the fourth hole here. So if we need to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Up right there. That's 20. 1. Sorry, 21. Okay. And then we want to find 22, which is going to be over here. Okay. And then we want to find 23, which is the next hole down over here on the left. And we want to go down at 24, which is down here. We want to come up at 25, which is the next hole up here. Now, if you have trouble seeing your holes, you can just take your needle and push your thread a little bit. And then we want to go down at 26. 26 is over here. Now, this is where it gets a little hard to see. 26 is the fourth hole down. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I counted beside it and then came over and went down right there in line. 27 comes up right here. It's the fourth hole up from the bottom on that side. Okay, remember I had you make a little circle up at the top. That stitch is 28. So on 28, we don't want to, I'll do it and show you what it looks like so you can see what it looks like when it's wrong. 28's up here on the top. If I just come over and go down like we've been doing all the other stitches, that stitch lays on top. And you might never notice that that's not woven under because that's the last stitch. It needs to weave under this thread right here. I have a finished piece that I did that on, and only I can spot it, and I usually have to hunt for it. But you don't really want to do that. Because it is the last stitch of the waffle stitch, you want to weave it under. Okay, so instead of taking that down across like that, we want to make it go under and weave it under. So I'm going to pull it out and rethread it. Okay, so for the number 28, you just want to go underneath that leg and go into that hole. And it looks like you disturbed the stitch, but you can come back and put it in place. And now the whole thing is woven and it looks right. And that is a waffle stitch. So, did you like that? Let's do another one. So, let's drop down. Let's just skip a couple threads and let's do another one. Right? Maybe 3 threads. Wherever you are, just drop a few threads and let's do another one. So we know we're going to come up at 1, and then we're going to count over and down 8 threads to go down at 2. And make sure you're looking at your diagram still, okay? So let's count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and count down 8 threads. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then go down on 2. Let's check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me do that again because I think I didn't really do it very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's make that hole kind of big because you can use it later. And then let's count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is correct. Okay. Now to come up on 3, you want to come up over here, and it's going to be in that hole that you made a little bit bigger. That happens to be also 8 threads underneath 1 in the same column, or 8 threads over from 2 on the same row. So you can count those threads back over or count them down, and you'll be coming up at 3. Now to go down at 4, you're 8 threads above 2 or 8 threads over from 1. You're just making a square here. It's just a big cross stitch. Okay? So let's count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and go down. Now let's check that and make sure it's 8 threads over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is. Now, you see me double checking. I do that even when I'm stitching by myself. Because laying the first part of any of these specialty stitches, any of these needlepoint stitches, is where you need to be right. If you don't have that right, you're going to have trouble getting the rest of it to work. So double check in the beginning, and then you're really okay for the most part. You're just counting. Okay? So now, wherever you're stitching on your square, don't put a hard crease in your fabric, but if you want to roll it under, it's okay. Okay? That's okay. You just don't put a real hard crease in it. We're going to put a hard crease in it to find the middle when you start your for real design, and it'll be fine. But this is a little practice piece. You know, just handle it however it's easy. It's not a big deal. All right, so we've came up at 1, gone down at 2, came up at 3, gone down at 4. 5 is right beside 1. Now we're looking at holes, which I know gets confusing. But you come up right beside 1. That's 5. Okay? And you want to go down at 6. And there is a pattern to this. After you do a few, and you're going to do a few in this design, you'll start to see it. 6 is right above 2. Okay? 7 is right up here underneath 4. So you're going to come up there, and then you're going to go down at 8. Remember, you always come up on the odd and go down on the even. Okay? All right, you went down at 8. Now we're looking for 9. 9 is over here beside 2. So come up there at 9, and you want to go down at 10, which is right. It's the hole right underneath 1. Now you need to be careful and don't skip holes. That's where a lot of people get a little bit off. They either go into a hole that already has a thread in it, or they skip a hole. So make sure that you're looking at your canvas before you go into the hole. Okay? And this design is done all in empty holes. You're coming up in an empty hole or a clean hole, and you're going down in a clean hole. So for this waffle stitch, you should always be up and down in a clean hole. That's not true of all of the stitches, but it is true of this waffle stitch. Okay? On this one. When you start to do your full design and you're putting these stitches one beside the other, that won't always be true, but it is true for this. Okay? So see, I stopped and I started talking. Now, how do you figure out where you were? All right. So I look at the back. My thread is down here on the bottom. Or actually, it's not. It looked like the bottom there. I'm up at the top, so I was looking at that stitch. So my thread is up in the upper left-hand corner. So if I want to check it, I can just do that. Right? So now I can tell I'm in the second hole. I just went down in the second hole on this side, so that was 10. Okay, so sometimes if you stop and you need to restart, that's how you find your place. So that went down at 10, so now I'm going to come up at 11. 11 is right above 3, so it's right here. Okay, and then go down at 12, which is right beside 4, so it's right over here. Okay, are you with me? 13 is right beside 5. It's on the top. So you're constantly looking at your diagram here. Okay, that was up at 13. We want to go down at 14, which is over here. Now, you want to make sure that you're going into the right hole. So 14 is the third hole up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3. So just jump that thread and go back down. Count these if you need to. I count this one all the time. We just went down at 14. We're going to come up at 15. And 15 is up here right underneath 7. So I'm going to make sure you're coming up in a clean hole. Okay, and go down at 16, and 16 is down here. It's the third hole in on the bottom. And then up at 17, which is the third hole in on the other side on the bottom. Just look at your diagram. And go down at 18, which is up here, right underneath 10. Okay, you see you're just following around. You just went down at 18, you want to come up at 19. Remember, you're always coming up on the odds. 19 is down here. 19 is the third hole up from the bottom. So let's count it. 1, 2, 3. You want to be coming up right there. Okay? And you want to go down at 20, which is the third hole in up here on the top. So 1, 2, 3. Up at 21, which is the fourth hole over here on the top. So you're going to come up right here. Right there. If you need to count that, you can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you look at your diagram, this is 1, 5, 13, 21. Right? And then down at 22, which is over here. And it is the fourth hole up on that side. Up at 23. So you're coming up right here in this fourth hole on this left-hand side. And down at 24, just down here on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4 holes in. Okay. Don't leave this loose on the back, and make sure that you're keeping your finger back here and you can feel. You see how you don't have any stitches in the middle here? This is where I jumped down to do that other one. This stitch doesn't have anything in the middle, so you should be able to feel if you get a knot back there. All right, we just went down at 24, so we're coming up at 25. 25 is right here. It's the fourth hole over on the left-hand side on the bottom. You can count that if you need to. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and if you can't see to count it in the row, count it on the blank row beside it, and then come in 1 thread. Okay, so you come up at 25, you want to go down at 26. 26 is the 4th hole down on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go down. Okay, 27 is the 4th hole up right here. Come up here at 27. Now remember, the last stitch is 28. You don't want to go straight over the top. You want to weave underneath. So just take your needle. You've got a tapestry needle, so you don't have to worry about piercing threads. And just slide it underneath this last stitch up there. Go down in the 4th hole. That's 28. Okay? Now it looks perfect. And you can count that to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you made a mistake and you need to take it out, I would recommend that you do not take your needle and come back up through there. You unthread the needle and pull it out. Because if you take your needle and come up from the bottom to try to unstitch it, you very likely will pierce a thread and it will make it hard to get that out. Okay? So those are 2 perfectly done little guys. Now I'm going to show you a neat little trick on this. And this is what you can use some of your practice piece for if you want to. You can use that as a needle keep, because you can just slide your needle right in there. And I've seen a lot of them made. They're really fun. You can take a second piece of canvas and you can make a back for it. You can put a little magnet in it. You can do whatever. You can put a little pin back on it. I've had gifts given to me that have a little pin on the back so that you can pin it onto something, or you could put a magnet between it and sew 2 pieces of canvas together, and then, you know, have it be, have another magnet to put it on your canvas, and then you just pop that right through there. I have also seen a lot of people stitch one of these in the corner of a larger piece of canvas, and leave it, and they just use that to keep their needle, right? And so they just make one that doesn't have anything to do with their design. It's up in the margin. It doesn't really affect their design, and they use it for a needle keep. And that way you don't have to worry about a magnet at all. So this is another fun stitch. It's fun to do, and it's also utilitarian. And if you had a thread with a lot of variegation, you're going to start to see it coming out on that. It's nice. Now, this same stitch, you could do it the same way and make it bigger. You could do this in the middle if you wanted to, where your heart is. You could do it over 16 threads. You could do a big waffle stitch there, but you're going to have a lot of waffle stitches. You're probably going to get tired of it. So do one more if you want to, and just make sure you've got it down. I'm going to run out of thread if I try to do that, so I'm not. Now, to end this thread, you know, Debbie Rowley would tell you to do a pin stitch, and you would come up underneath and move some threads around and do it. We're going to very carefully just weave it underneath. There's not a lot of thread back here, right? When you do some of the other stitches, you'll have more thread. But don't tug real hard on any of this, and you know, you won't be disturbing anything on the front. Just kind of weave it under. Like, I would not pull that real hard. The way I went over right there, don't pull that real hard. But you know, you don't want to create a ton of bulk back here, but you want to secure your thread. It's secure right now. I could cut it off, but I'm going to go under one more time. Okay. Now, you didn't see me pull real hard on anything, so I didn't disturb anything on the front. And that thread is quite secure. So let's look at the front. Yeah, it looks fine. No big deal. Okay. And then if you use a waist away knot, you need to take care of that. And so here, again, you're going to cut the knot off the front, thread your needle, and secure it the same way you did the other one. It's hard to thread a needle the way I do it when you don't have a whole lot of thread. So feel free to use your needle threader. Right now, I am going to weave this guy. He's came up underneath that one already. So I'm going to kind of jump over here. Okay. Different people have different perspectives on how to end a thread on something like this. And, you know, you're learning right now. It doesn't have to be beautiful and perfect. It just needs to be useful. Okay. The the trick to starting and ending needlepoint threads is not to create a ton of bulk on the back. It's the same as for any other kind of embroidery. The goal is not to create bulk that you can see through framing, right? You're not going to frame this piece. Probably you're going to make it into something, and this is practice piece anyway. You're going to have a lot of thread on your other one to run underneath. But, you know, just be reasonable about it. Don't get nuts on anything. You see on that basket weave, you can't see at all where I ended the thread. It's no big deal. This won't matter in framing. It's beautiful on the front. And if you're going to make it into that scissor keep pocket, you're never going to see this backside anyway. So you're all good. Okay. So that's a waffle stitch. Practice it. Do a few more. Get it under your belt. Hopefully you practiced that basket weave and you felt good about that. I think we're going to end today's lesson with that. And we're going to come back and we will do more. We'll do it in a second lesson. So practice that basket weave. Practice that waffle stitch. Get them comfortable. And then we'll come back and we will do the Scotch stitch and we'll do the Rhodes heart and the box in the second lesson, and we will get you started on your real piece. And then we'll do some of that together. So I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned some things. Don't let it get you too frustrated. Just practice. It's needle and thread. You got plenty of little canvas there to practice. And, you know, if you end up needing that other piece, you've got 3 pieces. And if you need another piece, you know, we can get you another piece. It's not a big deal if you run out of practice piece or whatever. So you can use that second canvas if you didn't want to finish it into a needle. I mean, I keep saying a needle keep, a scissor keep. If you decided not to finish it into a scissor keep, you could use that second piece. But trust me, we've got plenty of canvas. If you need canvas, we'll send you another piece of canvas. But practice this, get comfortable with it, and enjoy it. And, you know, think about using it to keep your needle. I just think that's so cool. So as you move on through needlepoint, you do other pieces, you'll end up making a Rhodes square, like we're going to do a square, or a heart. A lot of people do it with a heart. You can do it with this waffle stitch. A lot of these stitches that have a lot of texture, they're just great to do something like that with. So anyway, I will see you in the very next lesson. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you learned something, and I hope you don't feel frustrated. And if you do, just chill out. You know, and come back to us with your needle and thread, and we'll go again. So enjoy that. I'll see you soon. Bye.